Hi, Mike Shope, Adam Krautwurst. Welcome to the Deep End Dynasty Style Thursday night, June 30th. The overriding theme tonight, wide receiver tiers. It's week 3 of 4 by position, trying to figure out, the pressing questions at each position. Also, we will find out where the fly is, or maybe not. And Scott Fishbowl update. When will soccer end? We might slip it in. It's not actually written out as a thing. And also a couple other things as we go. Thanks for joining us tonight. Powered by Draft Sharks, we are the Deep End. All this preparation, I didn't think I would know where the fly is, but I do. It's right there. It's right next to the camera.
There it is.
It's
you found it?
The fly, I see it. It's just sitting there very casually. And, I don't want to really disrupt that because he's not bothering me. I don't want to bother him.
No.
But if he comes and lands over here and then right by the microphone, then we might have to do something.
Feel free. Listen, I don't think many people from PETA are watching this. Feel free to get the fly swatter out,
Oh.
So, no. Okay. All right.
Here we go. No. I'm just thinking. But how old do flies live to be? A day?
Do you know yeah, right.
No,
I think it depends. In my house, not very long.
It depends on nutrition, what their nutrition. If they eat right, they can live to be many years old. But if they don't, it's not good. It's not pretty.
No.
All right. Scott Fishbowl is coming up. Do we have something else first?
No. That's
okay.
it.
So the big event is 2 weeks from tonight. We have a link to share in Buffalo if you're in Western New York or want to visit Western New York at the absolute best time of year to do so when it's perfect out, like every day. I wish I could have been up on the deck tonight, but I knew I was going to have to read something on the screen, and it's too bright. So me and my 50-year-old self came down here to the basement, and it'll have to do. But 2 weeks from tonight, July 14th, Scott Fishbowl, 2 live drafts at Big Ditch Brewing Company in Buffalo. On Tuesday's show, which is more geared toward high stakes, we drafted the order of each league. That was really fun. Adam and I each got the 104 in different leagues. That's funny. Adam declared himself to be in the group of death, which is also funny. But for $75, you get free buffet and free non-alcoholic drinks. Hang out with us, Thurman Thomas, Louis G, who's been on the show, Zach Kruger, Nick Costantino, and Sean Stutzman, who won the $500,000 of the FFPC main event. Guys you've seen on the show before. We're all going to be together 2 weeks from tonight at Big Ditch Brewing Company in Buffalo. If you follow me on Twitter or even Adam has sent out links. You can join us there. Tickets are still available. They've just gone on sale, so time is now to jump in. Tons of great basket raffle prizes too. For $75, yes, you're going to a fantasy football draft, but you might meet Thurman. He'll be there. 250 person limit and 2 drafts. So if you care about fantasy at all, which every single person watching here does, except when it's a passenger in a car with someone driving who's forcing them to listen to this, then you probably will want to be there, I think.
Yeah, no, it's going to be a great night. If you go to our the comment section here on the Draft Sharks YouTube, you can find the link for the tickets. It's going to be amazing. I can't wait. I mean, listen, not many people. If you want to come watch the draft, great. If you want to come and mingle, it's a night out. Definitely come. Mike, I started a GoFundMe today for the events, probably 2 hours ago. So
wow.
I'm looking to raise as much money as I can for this bad boy, and I'm excited.
Yeah, it will be really special. Is there anything else you want to get to before wide receiver tiers?
The Bulldog.
So real quick, it's not high stakes night, it's dynasty night, but
yeah,
Underdog is where all the action has been. A lot of the action has been here this summer. And their new fantasy tournament is called the Bulldog. It's $500, limit of 6 entries.
Yep.
20,000 up top, 216 teams like in total, I think. So it's maybe, what is that going to be? 15 leagues is 180, plus 36, 3, 18 leagues.
Carry the 4.
Are you there? Are you going in?
Oh, of course. Of course.
Of course.
Of course. Come on. I mean, all my Draft Sharks brethren messaged me today, said, "Hey, is this high enough stakes for you?" Because I'm always, joking about the $10, the $5. Yes, it is. It is. And I like the advancement rate. It's very similar to the FFPC best ball tournament. It's 4 out of 12 and then 2 out of 6, 2 out of 6. With $20K up top, only 6 entries max per person. So I like that. So we don't have to get too crazy with trying to get with our structures. And it pays out 1/3 of the field, which is not like Underdog to do that. So I really like it, and I'm definitely going to be involved. The problem is, high stakes guys like me, we're already, I'm in the 5K at FFPC. I'm in the a bunch of main events over there. I'm in the 2,500. I'm in the 3K. I got a bunch of leagues over at FFWC. A lot of the money's spoken for, but I'll scrounge up a little bit to get in this event.
Empire Niagara.
Niagara. That's right.
Yes. Very exciting. Well, that is the deep end. I would say $500 to enter.
Sure.
Louis G and Mike Christensen, 2 giants in the field who are both also in the Scott Fishbowl event at Big Ditch in Buffalo. They were here last night to draft BBM teams on Underdog, and we did 3. We did the thing you and I did where 3, 2, 1, enter. And yep. I got in and they didn't.
Wow.
So they just went 3, 2, 1, enter again. And they said, come on. So Louis like, you can't do 2 at once?
Of course you can.
Hated it. I was on my phone. All those underdog drafts I've done, well, all the ones I care about, like I've been on my computer on this thing right here.
Yep.
Let us apply. And I'm out there on my phone, like the clock is running out, and it was fast. I mean, it's fast anyway.
Right.
But 2 at once, every 3rd round or so, it lined up where they were both on the clock at the same time. One takeaway, then we did one because we wanted to do one, the 3 of us, where we could all concentrate. We did a 3rd one after, which is pretty far gone at that point. But I know I drafted 1 player on all 3 teams. So who is that likely to be? If you do 3 best ball manias like in very short period of time, who is the caliber of player you're probably looking at that you drafted all 3 times? Because the first round, like position.
Right. Position has a lot to do with this. So you're looking at maybe something past round 5 or 6. I'm going to guess it was Miles Sanders.
Jamal Williams.
Oh, it's close.
What do you think? Like, real quick, because we're not going to stay here, but Jamal Williams will play best ball value. Like, he's going to be on the field because he's always been on the field for any team he's been on, no matter who else is on the team.
Right.
And same coach last year, same DeAndre Swift. Value if Swift were hurt. I don't know. Like, it's not sexy. He's almost the definition of sort of you could have been picking this rookie, but you picked Jamal Williams, so you're a chump. But I was I'm happy to pick him.
Yeah, he's in that tier of, non-elite handcuff running backs. It's you just kind of, if you're building maybe two. Well, there's a couple builds you can do. You can do like running back early, and then forget about it until round 12, and then take your Jamal Williams types, or you can go 0 RB or hero RB and still grab your Jamal Williams types, but you're just hoping for a little bit more out of them. You're hoping for maybe a little bit more injuries, but of course there's a million running backs in that area. I don't hate any of them. It just depends on who falls to you, bye weeks, stuff like that. But yeah, of course. I mean, that's perfectly fine. I mean, he's got less upside than a lot of the younger guys, but real quick too, before we move on from the Bulldog, the only thing I don't like about the Bulldog is that it's all slow drafts.
Yeah.
And I understand why they're doing it, because they don't want someone to get, it's not going to fill nearly as quickly as all the other drafts. And they don't want to get someone stuck, in a situation where they can't draft and the draft starts and now you have 30 seconds to make a pick. So I get it, but I much prefer guys be on the clock for 30 seconds, sweating it out, having to make those crunch time decisions.
Again, it's not high stakes night, but you were in the player profiler last night on FFWC. How did that go?
I was. It went really well. We'll talk
Chopped liver.
more. Yeah, chopped liver. Billy doesn't even want to talk about, whatever. I'm gonna have to do like 10 more now. But it's funny because it's so different. It's so different than all the other. You got to start the 3 receivers, and I had the second pick. Finally got a higher one. And I'm like, do I go Cooper Kupp or do I go Christian McCaffrey? I'm like, I'm going to go Kupp because you got to start 3 receivers. And I have a feeling receivers are going to fly off the board. And as soon as I saw T. Higgins go at 13 overall, I knew I made the right decision to take Cooper Kupp. Came back around, took Kelsey at the end of the second round as the tight end 1. Loved it until I saw Kittle go in like the 8th round. I'm like, oh, okay, I'm just going to – but it was my first one. So now I know I still like my team. But if I could go back, I would change some things. And now I know, and I'm excited. They're not filling daily yet, but towards the end of July, those drafts will start filling daily. And I think I'm going to pop in a bunch of those.
Player profiler on FFWC.
Yes.
I have one of those teams. Are you
Do
surprised?
it.
I do. No, I have one.
Of course not. Of course not.
Louis and I did one on June 11th. Which, boy, that feels like at least 3 weeks ago. Yeah. And let's see.
Are you pulling it up? Are we getting locked into this?
I don't think so. My quarterbacks are Allen and Watson. How did I do?
Allen and Watson. You did great with Josh Allen. I mean, well, here's the thing. Well, when did you get him? Because the draft that I did, Allen went maybe in the 4th or 5th. And then, I was able to get Trey Lance in the 15th, I think. Or 13th, and I took him. I got Kyler Murray in the 9th, and I took Lance just so nobody else could have him. I mean, it gets to be that bad. Like eventually, you got to block your opponents. But tight ends fell really far, quarterbacks fell really far. If I could do it again, and I will do more, I will have that in. I will put that into account.
I don't know where the draft board is.
That's all right. It's a dynasty show, anyways.
Allen was round 408.
There you go. There you go.
Dynasty time. Wide receiver tiers. So we each picked out 3 players we want to talk about, and here are the Draft Sharks rankings. Dynasty receiver rankings at full PPR. I want to make sure. I'm going to scroll up to make sure that that's how I have it set. There it is. All right. Well, there's your top 5. Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, CeeDee Lamb, Cooper Kupp.
I think it is. I think it normally is set like that for sure.
Default. Devontae Adams at 5. Here we go down to the next 5. T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, Stephon Diggs, Tyreek Hill, Rashad Bateman. Let's start with Waddle, Adam.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, take it.
Yeah, sorry. I think he's talented, but I'm fading him in redraft and I'm fading him in dynasty because I just think he's the second best receiver on his team. And to another receiver who's not old. I mean, Tyreek Hill is what, 28?
28.4.
There you go. I mean, Tyreek Hill's better, and Tua I don't think is good. So I think that even if they move on from Tua, where are they going? Are they going to be able to trade for a veteran that's good? Are they going to have to draft one and it's going to be 2 or 3 years before he's good? I just at wide receiver 7, I think he's fine. I'm fading him at cost at ADP. If he falls, he's talented, okay. But I think in that range, like I'm taking Diggs, I'm definitely taking Higgins. I'm taking even Rashad Bateman at cost. I'm taking over Tyreek Hill because
really,
Bateman, I am. Well, at cost, Bateman's not going. These are rankings.
Oh, okay.
But like where I can get Bateman, I would much rather have him over Jalen Waddle. The only argument for taking Waddle is that you can trade him because if in dynasty, it's hard to like pass up on value when you can just take it and trade it because I know there's a lot of guys, a lot of smart guys are on Jalen Waddle. I know the guys over at the GOAT District are high on Waddle. If you're in a draft with them, sorry guys, take him and trade him to one of those guys. So I mean, that's where I kind of struggle with the fading guys, based on their ADPs. But I just think Waddle's the second best receiver there. He's the same type of receiver as Tyreek Hill. And the quarterback situation has me off of him.
I want to not care too much about the quarterback situation because he's 23, and how long do I expect to be in this league? A decade, maybe, depending on your age. Like, there's always that point, but I think a couple of things are the most important things. The first thing is, how good is your roster?
Right.
And any question about any player in a vacuum doesn't really help you if it doesn't account for how good is your roster. And so when people ask questions of analysts like, well, should I make this trade? I don't know. Almost every time, I don't know. If you're offering something obscene, then I will know. But if it's something close, which is probably the only reason why you're asking, well, what is your strengths and weaknesses of your roster and the age of your roster? And are you 88? Because if you're 88, you probably want to win now. If you're 6 years old, then maybe you're willing to take your time and stock up on the young guys. Wide receiver, I think it's probably always true, but look at the wide receiver world we're in right now with Chase and Jefferson and Lamb. Those are Draft Sharks' top 3. Then you have Kupp and Adams at 4 and 5, back to the young guys in Higgins and Waddle, and then Bateman making the top 10 is amazing. I don't mind it. It's just like he's so young that you want to ride it out, and so for me, Waddle would be 4 because really at wide receiver, no matter, notwithstanding what the circumstances of the league are or my roster, I would always want to be on these guys who are all like 23 or less. Chase, Jefferson, Lamb, Higgins, Waddle, they're all like super young. And so I feel like Waddle is great. I don't even think Waddle got to do last year some of what he's great at, down the field. Everything was short, and that's Miami. So I think there's a lot there with this player. The fact that Jamar Chase exists sort of reduces Waddle, and I would love to have him.
Yeah, no, I get it on the age and the talent. He got so many targets last year, and that's just it's not going to happen in this Dolphins atmosphere, in this situation that he's in, unless they get a new quarterback or he leaves eventually or Tyreek Hill leaves. It's not. I don't think it's going to happen. So I would just take him and trade him to someone who loves him, or just not take him at all personally. But we can move on.
If you had Waddle on your team, you wouldn't trade him for a 1 next year. Everybody loves next year's draft. You wouldn't make a trade like that. Who are you trading Waddle for? You're trading him for Austin Eckler or somebody that you can win now with at a different position, or Kelsey maybe, but you would want to get something else. I think in Dynasty, right? Like you wouldn't. What are you trading? Who are you trading Waddle for in Dynasty?
I mean, I'm trading. You're talking about 1 next year. I would trade Waddle for a piece, and I mean, if I'm guaranteed a top 2, can I get a top 2 pick next year for Jalen Waddle? I mean, I just think that to me, quarterback is everything to me when it comes to the receivers in Dynasty, and I think there are receivers that are a little bit older, sure, but they have such better quarterback situations locked in long term. I think that has a lot to do with it. Now, granted, he did it last year with a guy who I don't think is very, very good at quarterback, but a lot has changed. Everything's changed since then. So we'll see. I mean, I would trade Waddle. I would put him on the market and let the market decide what I'm getting for him. But I would probably want a receiver back.
Last year's point is a good point. As a rookie, he was great on a team you don't like. They have a new coach who should be better for their offense than there was. And next year, his quarterback is going to be Brady.
That's right. Now, if it's Brady, and you're telling me I'm getting 2 years, God, Brady at 50 years old. Are you kidding me? Oh, I can't even imagine.
Watch it. Careful.
But I would take T. Higgins over Waddle. Moving on to T. Higgins.
Yeah. Well, we did that in the FFWC 1K. We took Higgins over Kupp in that draft, and we got Kupp on the way back. So I feel pretty good about that, especially looking at these rankings. I mean, T. Higgins is a star. Chase is there, a little bit similar to Miami in that way. You're not going to have a problem with the quarterback, I think. In this case, Higgins will come up. One thing that will be interesting on him, I guess, if not next year, after that, and a lot can change first, but whether he's in Cincinnati, because they don't really spend on guys, and Burrow and Chase are also going to be a part of the equation. And so will a player like Higgins, say they make the Super Bowl again in the next 2 years, and everybody has every reason to be confident in all those three guys. Do they have room for all those? We talked to Joe Goodberry on my WGR show yesterday, and he knows the Bengals. Like he's my favorite Bengals guest. And he talked about Jesse Bates, the safety on the Bengals. Like, look, they have if they sign him to a deal that costs $40 million, or it's $40 million up front, they have to put that money into escrow for him immediately. And I'm not sure he said the Bengals owners are able to do that, let alone willing. So money is a consideration. I know it sounds insane because these are NFL teams that are all worth $1 billion or $5 billion, but they have to have the money. They have to be liquid enough at that moment to put the money in. I don't know. I'm getting way ahead of myself when it comes to T. Higgins. Love the player, and I would put him right there, 4, Waddle 5 in a list like this.
Yeah, I love Higgins too. Again, this is the opposite of Waddle. I love that he's the number 2, just like Waddle, I think, is the number 2 on Miami, but he's in an offense with a quarterback who's really, really good. Quarterback's young. He's a pass first, pass second, pass third quarterback in an offense that, he's and the long-term situation is either going to re-sign him, and he's tied to Joe Burrow, and a situation that's really, really good for him, and Jamar Chase, who can take coverage away from him. You can make the same argument for Waddle as well. But he's also, or he could get a ton of money and move on and be an alpha somewhere. He could be the number 1, locked into 140, 150 targets every single year with a different really good quarterback. Now there's the option that he also goes somewhere and isn't with a good quarterback and isn't in a good offense. So there is that. But I think the Bengals are going to want to keep a guy that they drafted that's that good and that young and has a rapport. So that's where I love T. Higgins. We reached on him maybe in the Dynasty, but I don't, who cares? He's young, he's great. And we ended up getting Cooper Kupp anyways, who really fell. So if we would have flip-flopped that, taking Cooper Kupp first at ADP and taking Higgins later on at ADP, I think no one would, we wouldn't be saying anything. But
I'll tell you what else. The guy we passed on that we almost took wasn't, it's on one of these shows, wasn't Kupp, it was AJ Brown. I haven't seen his name yet on this list.
Yeah, no. In fact, if you scroll down, see if you can find.
I did
his name, because
there's the next 5, and I have done that, and I don't see him there either.
Yeah, we got a comment here from Dave G. Says Bateman seems a little high to me. Surprised AJ Brown didn't crack the top 10. Well, apparently he hasn't cracked the top 15 either.
Nope.
In this situation, but if we're going to talk,
why did I argue against AJ Brown?
You argued against him. Was it his knee injuries?
Surgeries on both knees already.
Yeah.
It's not about Jalen Hurts or the Eagles. It was a little bit of physical. We don't have that as other guys. Higgins had a shoulder injury that set him back a little bit, but not expected to be something that, defines him or continues to be a problem or anything. It's not chronic.
Right. And I know we're planning on talking about AJ Brown. I don't think, but I really love I love taking Higgins over Brown for sure. And AJ Brown, the 2 knee injuries, an offense that has a running a quarterback whose fantasy relevance relies really on his running. Devonta Smith is good. The tight end is good. They've got, weapons there. AJ Brown, all the underlying numbers say that he's going to have a year where he just dominates and is unbelievable. But like you said, the underlying numbers don't take into account the multiple knee surgeries. You know what I mean? So I'm fine with passing on a guy like AJ Brown also, but he certainly could have a monster year.
I love him. I'm not down on him. I don't think the knee surgery thing has to be relevant, but it was like a coin flip in that moment, and I was happy to take Higgins. And I don't even know if AJ Brown had been traded at that point. Like I'm not even sure of that because you and I do 100 of these drafts. So we're through 15. we're going to talk about number 17. You want to assume, since you know who 17 is, that Brown is going to be 16 on this list?
Sure.
Would you 100% of the time put AJ Brown above the guy you wanted to talk about who was at 17?
Jerry Judy.
There he is.
There he is. Wow. AJ Brown ahead of Jerry Judy. What are the ages on there?
Brown behind Godwin is interesting, right?
That is interesting. I would take both of them over Godwin. And it's the same thing. Quarterback. Tom Brady's getting older. He might move on. Maybe he wants to move on. Who knows what's going to happen at quarterback there? You know, Godwin's been banged up year after year. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's been the picture of health. What are the ages there for Judy and AJ Brown?
Judy is 23.2. Brown is 25.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, I do like that Judy's 2 years younger. I love Judy. I think he is in one of these ambiguous receiving cores that you don't know the answer. So just if you bet on a guy like Judy, amazing prospect coming out of high school, amazing prospect coming out of college, a guy that was drafted very highly he was drafted in the first round. He's now getting a massive upgrade at the quarterback position. Reminds me a lot of Cooper Kupp last year. I mean, the move from Goff to Stafford is probably not as big, but maybe not as big as this move here to Russell Wilson. But man, you get these guys that can really play, and it's ambiguous. So people don't know. A year from now, Jerry Judy could be a top 5 dynasty receiver, and to be able to get him, not knowing, is it Cortland Sutton? Is it Judy? Is it both? Do we have a Higgins, Jamar Chase situation on our hands where there's 2 really good receivers? I like to bet on Judy. I like to bet on that talent. I know it's a super small sample size, but Judy was Draft Shark's breakout player of the year last year. He was having a really good week 1. I know it's only one week, but he looked like he was set to explode. And then he had a high ankle sprain all year. So it really takes time to come back from that. And even when he came back, he wasn't in tip-top form. Cortland Sutton was irrelevant when Judy was back, not even at 100%. So I lean Judy in that case, or Judy versus Sutton. And so you can get him right now so much cheaper than you can. I like to buy these ambiguous receiving cores early before that player explodes.
Yeah. Everybody loves the prospect. A lot of different ways Denver could go. Sutton is off an ACL, like that was last year where he came back from the injury, but he has had that injury. I don't know anything that tells me that is meaningful in trying to forecast these players. There's Tim Patrick, there's Akwebanum, there's even Javonte Williams out of the backfield. There's even Dulcich if you want. Like, there's a lot of things that could happen in Denver, but Judy has the first round capital. It's not this GM though. And sometimes that ends up being important. In terms of dynasty, the worst case scenario for Jerry Judy in Denver is that he's somebody else's great receiver in a couple of years. So I would not be shy about him in this situation at all. But for this year, and a lot of these rankings, of course, would factor that in. You might want to be a little bit careful. I think ADP reflects that about Judy. You've seen Sutton move past him, and certain other guys there, including the guy I want to bring up next, have also passed him. And that player I'm thinking about is Hollywood Brown. So if you go to the next page on the Draft Sharks rankings, 18 Deontay Johnson, 19 Deebo Samuel, 20 Terry McLaurin, who signed a big deal. That's probably good for him. 21 Keenan Allen, and then Hollywood Brown at 22. The simple question when you talk to fans about Hollywood Brown is like, is he good? You'll run into people who just feel like they've seen his drops. They're on Twitter and they see him drop big touchdown passes, or other games too. Like, he had a problem last year. He also sort of strangely felt like he wasn't. Well, it's not that strange. Like, if you're a receiver on the Baltimore Ravens and you think your team isn't doing enough to sort of set you up, get you open, scheme you open, and accommodate you, then you might have a point. I wouldn't argue against that. but he did get tons of targets. Like he was very relevant. Even when Jackson went out, Brown was the cog in their passing game, except for Mark Andrews. So now he goes to Arizona, and that is really a little bit of a who knows, Adam. The Cardinals, Hopkins on suspension, Kirk gone, Hollywood in, Rondale, right? And then what Ertz was last year, Edmonds gone too. I have been drafting a lot of Marquis Brown in best ball. I would love to have him in dynasty leagues. Young enough, draft capital, team trades for him like the Cardinals did, and the quarterback's great. So sign me up for him.
Yeah, no, I totally get it with Hollywood. I'm probably more into him in redraft than I am in dynasty. But yeah, no, I see it. He's got the rapport, maybe. What do they call that? What are the guys over at Savage Run call it? The shower narrative with Hollywood and Kyler Murray. They went to college and they got that connection and all that type stuff. So I like that. I see that, and the reason why I like him better in redraft is because he's got the first 6 weeks without DeAndre Hopkins there. But yeah, no, I see it. He's fast, super fast, explosive. Kyler Murray can buy time just like Lamar Jackson. He's going to a very similar type of quarterback who can buy time, who has an arm that can get it down the field. So we'll see. It's all about how Kingsbury wants to use him. But I certainly am fine with taking Hollywood at cost there because he is young and he's already got that relationship with the quarterback who I don't think is going anywhere.
He does go in round 3 in underdog best ball drafts. So he's not a steal or anything like that, Brown. And often you're trying to stack there, and that's one reason why I've had a lot of Marquise Brown is because I'm trying to build Murray teams. Kyle Pitts, Hollywood Brown, Kyler Murray, they play week 17. Then Rondale Moore. Rondale Moore has moved into first place of players I have in that best ball mania, 39 teams, and Moore is at 11, the new leader. Okay. Scrolling down, Amari Cooper's pretty low. Cortland Sutton is very low. I mean, 26 is not 23, but he is pretty low on this list, almost outside of the wide receiver 3 category for Dynasty. Let's get all the way down here to George Pickens.
Yes.
At 45, right in front of his teammate who announced his draft pick.
That's right.
Chase Claypool.
Awkward.
What about Pickens, Adam?
I mean, I think he was one of the most, if not the most talented receivers coming out in this draft class. The injury, the kind of the attitude, the attitude and stuff like that. But man, I want to bet on talent and I want to bet on Steelers receivers. I mean, they just have drafted. They know how to draft receivers, right? I mean, Hines Ward, Antonio Brown, Juju, Deontay Johnson, Plexico Burris, Yancey Thigpen, Emmanuel Sand. I mean, they just draft all these Cordell Stewart. They draft all the Mike Wallace, Chase Claypool. It's just they just know how to draft. They draft talent, right? And yeah, there you go, Stallworth, Randall L. I mean, they draft these guys and they draft talent. And, I don't think there's a better coach in the league for George Pickens to have gone to. I think Mike Tomlin handles players' personalities. We found out better than anyone. We didn't know that Antonio Brown was this head case. We didn't know Le'Veon Bell was this head case. For years, they were great. Steelers' offense was explosive. And then come to find out these guys are all head cases. So Pickens can be a little bit of a head case, but I think this was the spot to go. I think he's probably the best, most talent-wise, maybe not day one, but I think might be the most talented receiver on this team. I want to bet on talent. I want to bet on George Pickens. In all the dynasty leagues, I want to get him. And in redraft, I'm taking him too, but I like him even better in dynasty because I'm not so sure year one he's going to be awesome because the quarterback situation. But I think maybe 2 or 3 years from now, he might be a really, really awesome dynasty player.
Quarterback situation, off an injury, and sometimes in a dynasty draft, he will slip because, people want to win now and they'll draft somebody like maybe Christian Watson instead, who is likely to be on the field for Aaron Rodgers' team like right away. But I mean, they were drafted. Watson was drafted ahead of Pickens, but I feel like that the tipping point there is how good your team is. And if you're not like, look, if you're the best team in your league or second best team in your league, you can trade that pick because somebody wants Pickens, somebody wants Skye Moore in that range, and you can just go get some running back. Like you can go get Dalvin Cook or somebody like that with a draft pick thrown in that can help you win that year. Otherwise, you want to build it. This is fine. I don't really believe in the Steelers know how to draft point so much because I don't think anybody does. They just happen to have I mean, you want to mention John Stallworth, Adam. I can't stop you because they did draft. He's in the Hall of Fame. But I really don't sort of buy into that. We'll see. The Steelers are you have to agree. They are so overdue to be terrible.
You've been the vibe I get from your off season is you want Pittsburgh to be so bad for so long. I feel the energy coming through there. So let me ask you a quick question. Why don't you buy, like, some guys are good at fantasy football and some guys are not good at fantasy football. Why can't the Steelers be good at drafting receivers? Maybe they just draft talent. Maybe they've got whatever metrics that they use. I know the same guys didn't draft Stallworth that drafted now, but I feel like they've hit on a lot of receivers the past 10, 15, 20 years. I feel like, they hit more than other teams hit. Now, I don't have a study on that, but I feel like they've always got 2 or 3 good ones every year. There's never Kelvin Benjamin and Robert Foster out there running around. It's always 2 good ones at least. So I don't know.
A few things. I mean, you had a Hall of Fame quarterback who has been able to, at least until his later years, make it work with those guys. And that's not everything. Small school and Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown stands out. He's one of the best ever. And they were willing to put him on the field. Some teams would be reluctant with a later round draft pick or small school. There's sort of a pedigree point that they fail at, and they might not put him on the field. I still think the sample size is too small. I think if you have 32 teams and you're talking about what only matters is the last even 20 years is a lot. So you're talking about a half dozen guys over that span, and you've had Ward, who was excellent, and Antonio Brown, who's elite. Then you have other guys like take Juju. I'm not here to argue that he wasn't a great prospect and can't be a great player, and he was when Brown was on the field. But after that, he has been nothing, and teams don't want him. And he tried to move on last year, and nobody wanted him at all. I mean, really, in this league, I'm making an argument against sort of my true feelings because I'm drafting Juju and I do believe in the player, but he was kind of turned away in a league where everybody's throwing the ball last year, and then he took a small deal this year. I don't know. I'm not trying to beat you up. I just think in terms of the Steeler point, it's too few guys. You really do have to limit the block of time we're talking about. And when you're talking about 6 or 7 guys, could one team hit 6 or 7 in a row out of 32? Sure, that's what should happen. There's probably a team that's missed every one of those, and they would have the same sort of, the inverse kind of success rate. But really, there's so much randomness in it that I don't take any of that too seriously. I'm not saying that I'm right.
Sure. Hey, we got a quick question here. I don't know if you want to dive into this. Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis.
He was not on the list, but I'm happy to talk about a player that a listener or a viewer is asking about.
That's right.
Davis is such a cool test case or case study this year. Like, not a great prospect, mid-round pick. The Bills put him in, huge touchdown year, great plays. The next year comes along. They don't give him time on a team they went to the AFC Championship. They had Diggs, Allen in his prime, all of it. They still signed Manny Sanders, who they had liked already. And Davis kind of trudges along, plays less in year 2. But then that playoff game happened. I'm fine with him. In terms of drafting him, other people have already said it. You really are you're trying to stack it, and you're trying to, you're trying to do that, and you're drafting him. It probably is near the ceiling, near what the best you're going to get from Davis. But I'm not afraid of him at all. And I think there's a potentially great player there. I mean, players change, and I wouldn't want to be. This is important to me for me to say. I would not want to be a slave to what he looked like on film 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago, or even 1 year ago to the Bills, because circumstances change, and I'm not afraid of Davis. And in Dynasty, I don't know, Adam, like, what's he worth to you in Dynasty?
He's one of the few guys that like has a like a lower Dynasty ranking than he does like a redraft ranking, and he's so young. I really like him in a sense that, again, he's another guy that I don't think has hit his peak yet, kind of like a Jerry Jeudy. Like, so I get the film thing. I get, I understand the film and being, a later round pick, not a later, but not a first or second round pick. And I don't think the Bills knew what they had in Gabe Davis coming after year 2, because people are talking about, they went and got Emmanuel Sanders. I don't think they knew what they had in Gabe Davis. I think they know what they have in Gabe Davis now. And I think they just showed you with NFL free agency and the NFL draft. I mean, they drafted a receiver in the 5th round, I think. Yep. Was as high as they went. They brought in a journeyman slot receiver, really. I mean, I think they want Gabe Davis to be the man. And the way I like to look at things is, what's his future look like? What does the quarterback position look like? The Bills keep their guys. If he's a guy that they drafted and they've developed, and Josh loves him, and the front office loves him, he's going to be in Buffalo. Unless he absolutely is demanding crazy money, I think he's going to be in Buffalo for a long time. So tie him to Josh Allen, him being, young, him being ascending, and getting him cheap now. He's another guy that you got to buy him before, because next year he won't be crazy high because you still got Diggs there, but he's a guy that could skyrocket in ADP next year.
What do you think of Davis ranked where he's ranked on this draft sharks list?
Let's see. What do we got? Renfro. Oh, I'm taking him ahead of all of them. Renfro.
You're the Skye Moore campaign manager. You're taking him ahead of Skye Moore.
I know, but Skye Moore, I've been I got Skye Moore when he was going in like the 9th round of, not Dynasty, but the 9th round of these drafts. And now that he's moved up to the 7th round, there's, that receiving core has a lot of ambiguity. Like, maybe it isn't Skye Moore. Maybe it is MVS. Maybe it is Juju. It probably is Juju. But for Dynasty, Gabe Davis, because we know Gabe Davis is good enough. Right. I mean, over Skye Moore, over Ayuk, certainly over Dotson. I love the Draft Sharks rankings and stuff, but I think even we are a little bit low on Gabe Davis. I mean, everyone has their own personal rankings, but I'm not one of these like Gabe Davis and redrafts going like wide receiver 23. I'm not one of those guys. But in Dynasty, if I can get him behind all these guys, I'm definitely taking him.
In terms of Dynasty, Dave, I mean, you got to read the room, right? Like, who owns Davis? Is it somebody that, you can beat in a trade? Is it somebody that might feel like, he's watching shows or reading articles? And I think maybe the general attitude there's a lot of talk about him, might be slanted toward, like, who are we kidding? Like, why are we drafting him ahead of DJ Moore sometimes, or certain guys? Like, figure out where you stand this year, and maybe there's a stack with Allen or something, and try to figure out a way if you're really all in. But if you're not, somebody else is, right? So I don't think you have to work at it that hard in terms of getting Davis on your team. And if you happen to not be a believer, you should be able to trade him for something really good, because in a 12-team league, at least one person in your league is really into him. Everybody watched that playoff game. Everybody believes in Allen right now and that offense. So depends on sort of where you fit into your league, I think. Want to do Adam Thielen really quick?
Yeah, let's do Thielen.
I don't know. I wanted to just sort of bring him up to ask you about it. There he is in the Draft Sharks list behind, at least one player who's not actually on a team in Will Fuller. Thielen is almost 32. I'm not throwing shade at the rankings either. I mean, I know that some of the metrics are in decline when it comes to him, which is not any sort of news because of his age, but so good. Such a technician around the goal line.
Yeah.
And I think they're a little bit more pass happy this year. Most people seem to. I've been buying Thielen in a couple of spots. If I have a win now team, and on those, like I'm happy to trade a pick next year or one of these rookie receivers for Adam Thielen. The value has to work, but I'm going with him.
Did we trade or draft Thielen in our FFWC 1K? I think we did.
Maybe. Right now, I'm hoping that we did, but I'm gonna have to look.
Yeah, look while I'm talking. Yeah, Thielen, they're going to a pass-happy offense. I'm so annoyed because the other day I was in a redraft, not a dynasty, and I was torn. I went down to the last second. Maybe it had been in a football guys, I think, and I took Amari Cooper over Thielen. And then like the next day it came out that Justin Jefferson absolutely loves the direction of this offense, can be pass happy and all this other stuff. My gosh, shoot. But yeah, he's old and he's banged up, but he's a technician around the goal line. When he's healthy, put it this way, when he's active this year, maybe even next year, crafty receivers can play a little bit longer. Maybe even next year he can give you something. If you're a win now team, absolutely trade for him from a team. If you can get him off a team that's not win now, I love a guy like Thielen. You can get him and lock him into your wide receiver 3 spot, and you can get him way late in dynasty leagues while you wait for some of your younger talent at receiver to develop. So I definitely love Thielen. This is going to sound weird. I like him more in dynasty than I do in redraft because I can take him really late and count on a year out of him if he can stay healthy. You're paying a little bit more of a premium in redraft to get him, but if he can give you 2 more years, you won no matter where you drafted him.
Right. There's the roster if you want it.
Oh yeah. What do we got? Is he there?
Yep.
There he is. Oh, I love it. See, I like him even more now.
We traded for Cousins after this draft in a deal with Prescott. So we drafted Prescott, as you'll see on the right, but now we have Cousins to go with Thielen. I don't know. I didn't do it for that reason. We didn't do it for that reason, but starting lineup, Cousins against the Packers or Carr against whoever they play?
Cousins against the Packers. Probably Carr.
I don't know the week 1 schedule as well as I know 17.
17.
Yeah.
What type
they
of
play the Niners in 17. They play the Niners in 17. And the Vikings play the Packers again. They play 1 and 17. Same with Miami, New England. Miami, New England are both week 1, week 17.
Interesting.
Thank you.
What a world that we live in, that we don't even care about week 1. It's all about week 17. That's fantastic. But
Raiders week 1. I should know that though. We've talked a lot about week 1, right? I want to find that out. Week 1, I should know that.
Come on.
Raiders.
I don't even know.
Wait for this.
I don't even know what city the Raiders are playing in.
We'll be in it when they play. They're at the Chargers.
Ooh. Pass rush. No, that's definitely Carr. That's definitely Carr. People are going to
Why don't you hide something under your seat at Bills Rams and like tape something under your seat? Then we come on the deep end Friday or Saturday and you tweet or say on the show what you put under the seat, and then we'll see if someone claims it at Raiders Chargers 3 days later.
Right. That's a good idea.
Great idea. Oh, who wouldn't love that idea? All right, that'll do it for tonight. The Deep End Dynasty Edition back next week. One more time, the Scott Fishbowl Draft. Anybody in Western New York or within driving distance, we'd love to have you there that night. Any Deep End watchers, anybody wants to meet Thurman Thomas or Louis G or Kyle Turner or Zachary Kruger or the main event winners from last year, it'll be a star-studded event. $75, including food, chances to win big raffles and meet Thurman and maybe even us if you care. Watch a couple of Scott Fishbowl drafts. How could you lose? All for charity, Thurman's Foundation and the Buffalo Urban League. Thanks to them for hooking up with us. Adam, happy 4th of July.
Same to you. Same to you.
See you Tuesday.
I'll be there. See you guys.
All right.